Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. I'm with Bobby Cleveland. We're on Elephant in the Room. We want to say a happy Mother's Day. all the mothers out there listening, we just wish you a happy Mother's Day. Want to honor you today. It's a great day. We're getting a little rain down here, Bob. It's a good day just to lay in the house.
Well, we didn't get any hard rain. We got some hard thunder, but it wasn't hard. But it rained for a while.
Oh, it's raining pretty good here, and then I got to go to my son's backyard, last one in high school tonight. Hey, Bob, we were going to try to have Wayne before we get into the discussion, and for our listeners, we were going to have a discussion this week. Last week we were talking about the Republican Party. And so we're going to try to have Wayne Hill on. We're going to later try to get Wayne Hill on. We're probably going to have some people who are running for office around the state come on and talk about, what their experience and what they're looking to do. But we want to talk to Wayne and just talk about what do we do as a party to go forward and unite the party. There's a lot of fighting right now. And so just me and Wayne's had our differences over a survey. And I just wanted to have him on to prove to the rest of the Republican Party, the grassroots movement, to say, look, we can have a difference, but guess what? We can still have a sit down talk and say, how do we move forward for the good of the party, for the good of the people, good of the state? And so we will have him back on in a week or two as soon as it fits his schedule. But
You're not going to get him back on.
Oh, I bet he comes. I bet he comes.
You said back on. He's never been on to be
well,
back
that's
on.
True. You make a very good point, Bob. That is a very good point. But Bob, hey, this week, and we want to just talk about the whole week, but I think it started there Friday nights. Bob, we've had a little mini riot. It sounds like. So with so many things going on, everybody out there knows that me and Bob are really active in the prison system and the Department of Corrections. It's one of our main things that we go after all the time. And this week has just been horrific. And anybody that has not watched Corrections needs to pay attention because we've been talking about, Bob, I just want to claim that, hey, I'm about a prophet. I'm about a half prophet. JJ the prophet, I prophesied that was going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they said there. I don't know what caused it when you say there wasn't a riot. I know DOC played it down. There's a scuffle, but you had at least 30 people in the yard fighting. And what they did, they put these two different gangs. One of the gangs was out there, and the other one was not supposed to be out there. But they let two gangs go out there, and that's what went on there. They got fighting each other. But
right.
It's a major mistake by that prison, obviously, to put two gangs out on the yard.
Absolutely. Hey, Bob, I do want to tell people we're going to have a guy on from out of Lawton's running, a guy named Hayes sometime, so be prepared for that. But yeah, Bob, the question on these two guys or two gangs that they had, I'm getting a lot of reports, and always, Bob, we get a lot of reports that can't be verified or not as accurate. But some of the people in the prison feel like somebody actually, like one of the employees, actually let that gang in there together
On purpose, knew
on
better.
purpose. That's what they're saying. And again, we can't prove that, but that's the reports we're getting, and that they put them in there on purpose because they know when these two gangs get together, that's why they're separated, and they know that there's going to be problems when they get together. And so, Bob, what I was told, they had two for sure deaths, and they had one guy had to be metaflighted. I hadn't heard whether he's dead. I'm going to assume he's not dead. I hadn't heard him come out and say he's dead yet. So two dead, one metaflighted, and possibly 30 people injured in this. That's pretty close to a riot. I would say that's getting in the riot.
Well, I tell you this much: when I read it, I read that piece that their PR person put out, and I was really amazed how she tried to play it down. And
Bob, I've been pretty light on her. Because political reasons, I've just not come out. But Bob, let me tell you something. That gal don't have any experience. I mean, what's she doing there? She's got zero experience. You know what I'm saying? They fired a guy named Josh Ward, who was awesome. I mean, everybody thought real highly of Josh Ward, and they fired him as the communication director for no reason. In fact, I think Josh is one of the ones that just filed a lawsuit against him. I was told that there's 5 that they fired that filed a lawsuit against him, and Josh is one of those. And they hired this girl from OMBS. Again, I don't think it's any secret. I think everybody knows that her dad was the budget chairman for the Senate, and so again, it looks pretty hinky. And then she comes over and she talks about things that she just doesn't have any idea on. Now, you know what? If you have 30 some odd people injured, how do you play that down? And especially when you pile it on top of all the things that they've had week after week. Bob, for the last little bit, we've been coming out and saying, we've got 10 days. Here's a 10-day rundown. Here's a 10-day rundown. And this week we're going to 5-day because guess what? It just keeps escalating so fast that you don't have to wait 10 days. My gosh, look at what's happened. Bob, Monday, they had a stabbing at this same facility. So here you had a stabbing there, and then you turn around and have another stab. All of this happened on a Friday or so. And so here's the thing. The guy got stabbed Monday at Lawton. Then you had a stabbing Tuesday at Hinton, which resulted in a death. Then you had a stabbing at Allen Gamble that I don't think it resulted in death. Then you had the warden, deputy warden, that was had a female at her deputy warden house there on the property of Lexington, OD'd. So the person living with her overdoses. They go in the house, is my understanding, and find all kinds of fentanyl and all kinds of paraphernalia and stuff like that. And so she was walked off, arrested, I believe.
well, here's the thing. DLC does all your executive with DLC. They don't sign in. They don't go through the X-ray machine. They don't take their shoes off. They just go around it. And that should not happen. They should be setting an example for the rest of the place. But why do you think they would not want to go through their X-ray machine? That's very curious about that because I know several people that just don't go do that at all at DLC.
Bob,
and it wouldn't surprise me a bit if the director doesn't take his shoes off. I bet he doesn't take his shoes off or go through the X-ray machine.
Well, Bob,
but where you have these guys that they can haul in anything if they let them do that up there at Hinton.
Well, Bob, there's a couple of things about what you just said. So, one, if you're the director, then do it right. There's not rules for me and rules for thee. There's rules. And if you expect people to carry out the rules, then don't not do the rules yourself. And again, I don't know that he's one of them, but if you're allowing people to walk in, your upper staff, and to violate the rules, that's a problem.
I know that one of them didn't wear anything on there that says what he is or who he is. Now he can go into prison. You got some new people. They don't know he's the third guy in charge, fourth guy in charge. They don't know nothing. He doesn't have a badge on. He doesn't wear a badge at all. He wears nothing. Goes around the machine. Doesn't check in. But why are I think they need to look at themselves. I think they got to have a major problem inside the.
I'll never forget. I got called up on to be one of the first people who worked the Oklahoma City bombing, and I was stationed right there. In fact, where you go in now, where the museum is down there by that pool, You know, that water that's there in them 160 something chairs there. That's where I was at. I stationed. I mean, right there where all this was going on. And the FBI, oh, they would get mad at us because they'd be coming in and out, and we'd have to check their credentials, and oh, they get mad. And I don't have to show you now. Get out of my way, and all this. Well, boy, when the supervisors, so we go back and complain to our people, said, hey, look here, we can't check these people. If you want to check, then you tell them. Man, when the head of the FBI found out, when the people there that were in charge, oh, those people become the nicest, because that's what leadership should be. They went down there and tuned them up and said, everybody going through this check will be. Governor come down there and tried to get across the line. No, you ain't coming across. Guess what? The own governor was like, here's the barrier. You're on that side of the barrier. Only law enforcement on this side of the barrier. Guess what? Bob, that's the way it should be. You follow the rules. But here's the other thing, Bob. There's a reason why you leave all that stuff if you get in there and they have a riot, guess what? They've got these tags. They've got your ID. They've got the stuff that shows, that you're in there, and now they know you're logged in. They got your ID. The other thing is, if you got your ID on you and you didn't leave it up there, Bob, I got called one time and they asked me to come to McAllister. I'll never forget. My supervisor said, we want you to come McAllister and we want you to wear jeans and a t-shirt and tennis shoes. And I said, what am I going to be doing? And they said, can't tell you. So I get up there the next day, jeans, t-shirt, tennis shoes. Said, what y'all want? Said, we want you to empty your pockets out, leave it here in the supervisor's office. We want you to load up in the truck. I said, where are we going? We'll tell you when we get there. They drive me up there to the back of OSP, to the backyard of OSP. They told me, said, get out and we want you to escape out of here. And I started laughing. I go, really, y'all want me to escape? Yep. Bob, I knew that place pretty well. I'd worked in there quite a bit, volunteering. They'd need some help every once in a while, and I'd go up there, kind of got to know the place. And man, I walked around, talked.
We lost you. Do you do that?
Bob,
we don't have a
me?
picture. Yeah, now we got you.
But Bob, I got almost to the last gate. You go through this gate and you're standing waiting to the last gate. I would have been escaped, except I didn't have one of those tags. And I knew a guy working in there that was kind of my height and stuff. And I said, hey, I'm so-and-so. And the one girl was going to let me go. She's going over to get that. And this little older lady looked at that and goes, that ain't you. And I said, yeah, that's me. I got my kids waiting. Give me that thing. Let me go. That ain't you. And she goes, you should have another one of these to match. I don't have it on me. End of the story, Bob. 3 big old boys come down there and pounced my butt. And I was laughing. I was like, I hope them supervisors don't have a sense of humor like me and say, we ain't never heard of Humphrey. Throw him back in the. But what I'm telling you, Bob, is that's why you have that. It's because somebody don't get your credentials, leave. You have your credentials up there so that they know you're in there if something happens. So there's a policy and there's rules why they do it. They should keep those. And when they don't do it and they let people around, here's a deputy warden with all kinds of fentanyl. Do you not think she's taking fentanyl into that prison? It seems highly, highly likely. You know what I mean? As well, Bob, I was told, now I'm following up on this, but I got a report of another officer that they caught bringing in a large quantity of drugs and didn't charge him and let him go and fired him, what I was told, but didn't charge him with drugs is what I was told.
Well, how is the easiest way to get fentanyl in the prison? How would be the easiest way you could do it? Taking it right through the front door, nobody's checking you out.
Oh, absolutely. If they're not doing,
and that's what our senior management do. They don't check in. They don't take their shoes off. They don't go through the X-ray machine.
Well, Bob, here's where I'm at. Let's kind of have a rundown in the last 6 months. You know, we come out, we have a doctor tell us that they're covering up rapes. The doctor gives us page after page after page of emails, documentation. The doctor files a whistleblower properly. The courts find twice in favor of the doctor and tell DOC hire her back. DOC refuses and goes all the way to appeal to district court, and that's where we're at right now. We turn around and we're asking the AG to go over there. The AG goes over and says, well, we talked to them and they said they investigated. Well, wow, what did you think they were going to tell you? And yet here we are. We have a 6-hour hearing where DOC refuses to bring the witness. The one witness they brought refuses to answer any questions. Now, that's the attitude of DOC. We're not going to do anything you tell us. We don't answer to you. We don't have to answer to nobody. That's their attitude, Bob. And we spent 6 hours having attorneys testify that absolutely that they had won in court twice, and the court found in favor of everything we were saying. We had OMES come and say she absolutely had filed it, and they said that they had given it to the AG. We had the AG come testify. They had not looked into the whistleblower. They said they didn't have to because they looked into the rape, and they went over and asked the guy, the very guy we're accusing of cheating, the very guy that they won't bring to the hearing, okay? But we have person after person after person testifying about the evidence that they had, including attorneys who said that they were told, all kinds of things. Yet, guess what? Nothing done. Now, we get a video of an officer having sex. The same week, they have another officer having sex that they end up filing charges on because they had to. They end up filing charges on the guy with video. When they first were being told, oh, well, yeah, we'll check into it. Oh, how about a video? Oh, okay. Now, guess what, Bob? I'm being told that I've got a group after me for getting that video because now they're saying, oh, Humphrey had porno. Well, it wasn't porno. It's called evidence. That's called evidence, okay? And so they're after me, which is hilarious. That's the way our court system works. They won't go after a real rapist, but they'll go after somebody who's trying to go after the rapist. Now, is that not hilarious? I get tickled at that. But Bob, I mean, look at all that. We come up with the showers. We call them. We didn't call them. We give it to them in writing. I can prove what I'm saying. I contact them in writing and say, hey, here's what's going on. You're locking people in these showers 2x2, 3x3. There's different ones, 2x2 and 3x3. And we say, you're locking people in showers and it's human rights violation. They come back and said, not happening, not happening. I send it out to a investigative reporter who ends up finding it is happening. I have a lot of evidence to show that it is happening. And I gave it to that reporter. And now, guess what? They come back and say, well, we were just moving them from one cell to the other. You have, and here's what's funny, Bob. They now won't allow me to take out some, because I'm trying to get subpoenas to get certain records. They won't allow me to have those records because they say I leaked out these incident reports that show that people were put in these showers for punishment, that show they weren't given food, water, bathroom breaks, all that. So now they're saying, we're not going to let you have this because you leaked these incident reports. Well, my thing that I would say to DOC, are you admitting there are incident reports? Are you admitting these incident reports were turned over to you that say all this? Then how did you reach the conclusion when your own people gave you incident reports saying this was done for punishment, saying, so Bob, we got all of that. We turned in the murder that happened at Lawton where the guy was stabbed 70-something times, stabbed in the neck 8 times. They denied that. Guess what? True. We turned in the thing that Holdenville where the guy was chased and got on the phone, called 911 to come save him. They said that was false. Then we played them the 911. Guess what? That's true. I I called out and said, hey, there's a guy that was hogtied and gang raped for 12 hours. Bob, I was wrong. Turns out I was wrong. I now have a witness that says it was only 6 hours, but that they tied him up and burnt him on the bottom of his feet with cigarettes. Now, Bob, they come back and said, well, if JJ's got evidence, then he needs to give this evidence. I'm like, I just told you. You know, you have a whole team to
Well,
investigate.
JJ, we've talked about that. But I want to ask the question is, I think there's got to be more to this officer. If she was bringing in fentanyl, you think there's not another, these wardens go out for lunch, come back, they don't go through and get checked out.
Right.
People from headquarters don't go in there and get checked out. And we wonder, how come we got so much fentanyl? Why do we have so much drugs in our prison all of a sudden? Well, we say it's because we're short-handed. But you know what? Maybe we've been looking at the wrong place too.
Well, Bob, I would say it's probably a combination of, I would say there's probably officers bringing that in. I would say they could do a better job of checking all those officers, and they might even do a better job of checking upper staff if they had to help. But people get pretty lax when there's no help. I just go on, you're an officer, you're this, you're that, go on, and we don't need to check you. And so, yeah, I mean, again, and they may not check them even if they had the staff. But Bob, my position is, where is it? And again, we just went back and talked about and we ain't even hit, you know, the extortions and all the other rape things and all that's going on. And Bob, just like this week, we're talking 5 days, 3 people stabbed before, 1 death. We got a deputy warden that is OD at her house, a drug overdose at the deputy warden's house.
Now, wait a minute. I don't think she was OD'd at her house.
She had a girlfriend OD'd at her house. That's why they went over there.
But that wasn't her.
No, it wasn't her, but the person living with her, Bob, can I get a witness? If you got somebody living with you that's doing so much dope that they overdose, that's the problem on state property. And when we go into the state property and there's drugs all over, which indicate that you're involved in massive drugs.
Well, what kind of investigation has been going on with OIG when this is right in their own backyard?
Well, Bob, go back and look at what what is her name? Kay Thompson. Go back and look at her statements on, we're doing all we can to drop the usage of drugs. We're doing all we can to drop, you know, and we've cut violence, we've stopped violence, and violence is the lowest it's been, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, where in the hell are you been? You know, where are you coming from? I mean, violence is the lowest it's been. And then where was it? If you've had 3 stabbings, a dang right, a warden, a deputy warden get caught with dope and an OD in her house, what was it before if it's lower than it's ever been? They must have been hiding something out. You know what I mean? When she makes statements like that, I just laugh and go, do you ever think about what you say? She got on there, Bob, and I played this at a hearing the other day where she got on the radio station and said, well, we have to manipulate the numbers to get the legislators to pay us. Now, that's code, Bob. That's code for we lie to get money. We lie to get money. And I got her on tape. I'm just going, you know, they all do it.
Let's just talk about, though, the number of drugs getting in there. Why is it so prevalent? Why is it there? Every one of these prisons say the same thing. They can't get it. There's so much coming in.
Well, Bob, there's multiple reasons. And it all goes
you get a
back.
deputy warden get caught hands down with drugs. Someone's not doing their job there at the Department of Corrections.
Well, no doubt they're not doing their job, but the bottom line, Bob, it all goes back to the shortage. You might have one rogue. I don't think every deputy warden they got has got people ODing.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Have dope. But the bottom line is, Bob, when you don't, you know, I got told, whether it's true or not, I got told the other day that they had a drone do a drone drop, and that the drop, so they dropped this stuff down on the yard, dope, phones, whatever, contraband. And I was told they had the inmate's name wrote on it. Now, Bob, when you go to dropping mail, that's like U.S. mail. Cell 105, inmate
Well,
111.
you sitting there and telling me that because you're a high-ranking official, you should not go through the X-ray machine, take your shoes off, be interviewed, sign your name in?
Bob, we had it, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you're the director, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's got a rule, and the rule should be good for everybody. If you want to instill professionalism, then that's how you still it. You model it. You don't tell people you got to go through that, but I don't have to because I'm this, I'm so and so. That's no good. Everybody goes through.
I went to the prisons a number of times with Director Allball. He always signed in. He always went through the X-ray machine, took his boots off. Never would he not do that.
Bob, I've been in the OSP. Oh, not here lately, but I've been in there a couple of times this year. You know what? I'm the chairman of corrections. I'm a representative. I could say, no, I'm not going to go do all this. Guess what? I take off my boots. I take off my hat, take off my belt. If they want me to get bug naked, I'll get bug naked for them, I mean, here's whatever they want, whatever they require. That's what I'm going to do. And when I get done, you know what I do? I thank all them people for the good job they're doing. I thank them for what they do because that's a difficult
Well,
job.
we may be surprised. We may just really be surprised if we start doing that with everybody as to who's bringing in the dope, who's carrying it in here. But I'm sure that I don't know how much how much I've read that at a press release put out by DOC, how much of it's true. But if it is true, does not have to go through the X-ray. And I've checked around, and none of the wardens that I've found out don't go through don't take their shoes off. They don't follow the procedures. None of the deputy wardens, and this I only checked a couple places, but they just go right through. Well, why do they not want to go through that? Why do they not want to go through the exercise that everybody goes through? Why would you not want to do that?
Well, I don't think that for all of them it will be because of drugs. It's because, hey, I'm the deputy warden, I'm the warden, and I don't want to take my shoes off every time I come in here. And I don't feel like I ought to have to. But bottom line is they should because that's the rules, And again, I don't think most of them are probably hauling dope in, but it doesn't matter. They need to follow the rules because guess what? You're going to have one. Are you going to have two that would?
Well, it's not so much the wardens, it's the other people, the high people at DOC that don't do it.
Oh, yeah, there's several. Hey, Bob, this last rape deal, that's what I was told, was that he was trading dope for sex. That's how all that got started. If you remember the one up at Eddie Warrior, that guy was trading cigarettes, tobacco, large quantity of tobacco for sex, so again, that's contributing to, that's some of the problem when you're not checking and when you're not going through their bags, or when they're leaving something right out there and then walking right back around and getting it. What I'm saying? There's all kinds of ways to do that. So yes, absolutely, we need more people. We need to make sure we follow the rules. The rules are in there for a reason. We need everybody going through the rules. And again, Bob, the fact that Kay Thompson will sit up there and say, "Oh, we've lowered violence. We're doing a better job stopping the drugs." Yes, we still got problems, but we're doing a better job. What is she basing that on? What number is she quoting? What number is she going off of? Because Bob, I've been talking about a word called escalation. And again, Bob, I would say I've been saying it for 2 years now. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. You're going to see this. And then I'll say you're going to start seeing more violence. You're going to start seeing more rapes. You're going to start seeing your staff assaulted. Guess what, Bob? Every one of those things have happened just as you're calling them. Here, it's fixing to start happening. This is fixing to start happening. And I will tell you, Bob, it's taking a little longer than what I thought it would to do. And Bob, I'm going to also tell you, I got a person today contacted me, and they went to visit their loved one there at prison, and they contacted me back and said, "When did we start letting these inmates wear $500 shoes and gold chains?" He said that they had inmates coming in there like they was swag and just decked out, like they were gangsters, they were the original gangsters, And so, when did we start letting that happen? When did we start letting inmates control everything? And I guarantee you, when you do that, then you've got problems.
Started since Harp's been there.
Well, Bob, I was listening. I was letting my wife listen to videos last night. I get so many videos, I can't even watch them all. And then I get accused of trafficking in bad. And I've had some I showed you one the other night that was sent to me that was pretty rank. And Bob, I don't know if you recall this video I showed you the other night. Do you remember the video of the guys getting high in their cell, and they was smoking K2, and the guy was just plumb whacked out of his head, and they're all laughing and they're all carrying on.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 of them on there, and they're putting this video out to YouTube. Now, Bob, I'm gonna tell you something. When you will get on video, not one of you, 2 or 3 or 4 of you, videotape yourself laughing, getting high, smoking dope, and being so whacked out of your head that you can't even hardly talk, and you're going to put that out there, you are not afraid of the staff. You are not afraid of any consequences, or you wouldn't be putting out video. We like to call that evidence in court of law. You know what I'm saying? And yet they're doing that, and that demonstrates, man, Bob, that says way more. I cannot emphasize what that says on the attitude of inmates. When they have the attitude, we can make a film, we can get high right here in the cell, we can laugh our butts off, and ain't nobody gonna do nothing. What are you gonna do to me? And guess what, Bob? There ain't nobody doing nothing. And again, how can you be getting high like that? I got another video of a guy, and he's in this cell, and he's got a camera, and he's pointing it down to the other cell, and it's dark, you really can't see. And he goes, "Can you hear him?" And this guy's screaming for help. And he goes, "Nobody's coming." He's been screaming for, I don't know if he says hours or how long, but he's been screaming for a long time. Ain't nobody coming. And this guy's screaming, "Help me, help me." And Bob, it's hard to watch. I mean, my wife was just like, "I don't want to see that. I can't watch that. It's hard to watch." It is hard to listen to that, because it's pretty gruesome, that hey, that guy's down there either being raped, being stabbed, something bad's happening to him, and nobody's coming. Nobody's helping. And this guy in the cell, you can tell the guy on the phone is he's like, "Somebody got to help this guy. We got to get some help to this guy," And it goes on. It goes on for quite some time. Nothing, And so what is going on? Bob, when you look at the stuff I'm being sent, it's like Venezuela. It's like third world country stuff, of what our prisons, when you're locking people in 2x2 cells, when you're letting them get hogtied and raped and don't even work it. Bob, I don't know if you remember the officer. I think she's no longer an officer there, but we had an officer come at our hearing the other day that we held for the families, who testified that she's watched them make inmates fight to get food, that she's watched them hold food from entire pods, not let them eat. She's watched them laughing about a knife fight, watching knife fights and betting who's going to win. All of that kind of stuff. Now, we don't know if that's true or not. That's one officer saying, but I can't tell you the reason that officer quit. She reports is that. And then we've had some very questionable deaths. Bob, that's one of the next things I'm going to be looking into is all these deaths. But again,
Bob, if I'm not mistaken, think there's like 80 deaths over the years that have not been investigated. What the cause of the death?
Oh yeah, Bob. Here's what's funny. I had one news reporter get a hold of me, and he was kind of leery about all the stuff that I'd been reporting. He's like, it can't be that bad. Anyways, when I come out with this guy that'd been stabbed so many times, 8 times in the neck, stuffed in the trash can, which tells you they're lying about doing count because the guy couldn't have been at count. He was dead in the trash can. Can I get a witness? If you're saying you passed the count, he wasn't there. But here's the thing. He went and checked. Well, guess what? DOC won't tell him nothing. So again, up comes a red flag. They call me and we talk about it. He goes to the medical examiner, calls me back, and he goes, "You aren't going to believe how many people died during this period of time." And he tells me, and I said, "No, I can't believe that. I would have thought it'd been twice that number. I think it was 6 in 6 months, 1 a month or so." And he said, "Well, would you know the name of the guy who?" So he had 6 people who had died. He's, "Do you know the name of the guy?" And I said, "Yeah, it's that one right there. That's the one who got stabbed so many times." He checked it out. Sure enough, everything I was saying, 1000% true. Well, because of that, they started looking. They did a report on how many people have died in a penitentiary, twice the number that they're reporting. I think if I remember that report, you can go back and read it. It's Daily Oklahoman. Go back and read it. Awesome reporting. But again, here's the deal, Bob. People are thinking I'm over exaggerating, thinking you're over exaggerating, thought that we were just blowing it up just to make ourselves look better, try to politicize and all that. What's happened? All these media people have started checking, and guess what? Bob, there ain't one thing. We ain't lied about one thing. There's nothing we've lied about. We don't have to lie. You don't have to lie. It's horrific. You don't have to lie. It's horrific by itself. Stands
JJ,
on itself.
I'm going to ask you if you had this happen to you lately, and I'm going to say a number of people, more than 10, have they've been, the DOC's in the news almost every week. Something going on there that they put themselves in the news every week. And then they say people have heard us talk. They're saying, "I can't believe that they treat inmates like this." I used to, you'd never hear them. People say, "I could care less what they're doing with the inmates. They don't deserve anything." But now I'm hearing that they deserve uh, more than this. And by doing this and beating them up, 5 officers beating up inmate, they said that's just really taking the inmate side 100%. Have you had anything like that happen to you? Or is your sound gone out? Holy moly, your sound's gone, JJ. You look like a dummy sitting there. They're going to have to get that sound on up there in Lane, Oklahoma, so you can get out. I don't know what to think about you sitting there looking like a statue. I guess you don't know that your sound is off and your picture's frozen. But anyway, that type of thing has happened to me more so recently. I never heard that. Never have I heard that in 12 years I've been involved, 13 years that I've been involved with DLC. Have I heard so many comments in place that, hey, yes, they're prisoners, but we need to try to rehabilitate some of these people and help them so that their mates or something they can get out. They're ready for to get out and get into society. But no, that's not what's happening. It's just the opposite. These people are taking the side of the inmate right off the bat, and it just surprises me because it's just like I said, it's never happened. But there's a lot of things going on right now that just keep going on, and each week. If she was bringing drugs to the prison, where was OIG at? They failed us. If
Hey,
she's,
Bob, am I
if
back
she,
on?
yeah, I was telling you, what I said to you was, lately, I've had people take the side of the inmate, which I've
Yeah,
never had that
I heard you.
before.
I heard you. Hey, Bob, I've had people walking up to me and just saying, hey, those are inmates, but they deserve to be treated better. Or, hey, I appreciate all the stuff you're doing. Those, and again, people are not saying they don't deserve to be in there. They're not taking their side over officers. What they're saying is we are supposed to take care of people to a certain level, and golly, that we don't need to be a third world country and we don't need to act like what's going on. It's horrific, Bob. I mean, it is horrific.
Well, JJ, let's go back to the drugs that came into the prison. Is if this is true, they're saying they're wondering how all this fentanyl was getting in there. They was really loaded on fentanyl. So if this is true, what in the world is OIG doing?
Well, Bob, what is the whole department doing? Again, I just told you a while ago about a report I had on 2700. I was told that it was several thousand that was being brought in for sex. I mean, here's the deal, Bob. I'm sitting on my hiney. I'm finding out about shower incidents. I'm finding out about rape incidents. I'm finding out when I find a rape. Guess what? I tell them 4 months ahead of time, here's this rape. You don't hear anything about it. Then I go out and find a witness who confirms it. And we're going to be working that. They're going to get a lawsuit over that most likely because guess what? And I don't want to say confirmed it, but we have a witness who validates that story and has a lot of evidence to validate it. And
Maybe
so,
the director needs to
what are
concentrate
they
on the
doing?
prisons instead of concentrating on trying to get rid of OCP.
Well, Bob, here's the deal. You tell me one thing. I was trying to think did you watch Trump last night talk about Joe Biden?
No, it did not.
He was saying that Joe Biden, that you could take the 10 worst presidents we've ever had in the history of the United States, put them all together, and Joe Biden's still worse than all 10 of them. And he said Joe Biden has put us in a worse position than any president. He's talking about how Joe Biden makes Jimmy Carter look great. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to tell you something. Stephen Harp is the Joe Biden of the Oklahoma Department of Corrections. Stephen Harp has taken us to where I never dreamed we could go. And Stephen Harp needs to go. It is time for the legislators, for the governor to look at what's going on. Here's 30 people injured. Here's 2 or 3 dead. Here's 3 dead in that time. Go look at all the ODs that's been happening. I got called the other day, one of the officers talking about reviving 3 people who had OD'd.
It used to be not very often, but now they don't think anything about it.
Oh, it's no big deal. I mean, hey, no big deal. Somebody died. Somebody got stabbed. Just common everyday practice anymore. Officer gets hurt. Man, used to, boy, if an officer got assaulted, that was huge. Guess what? You may not even hear about it anymore. Just bury it, go on, bury it, go on. And again, here comes old Kay out. Oh, everything's good. Everything's great. We're lowering all this. It's all getting better. We're doing an awesome job. Thank goodness to Harp. Oh, Director Harp's doing an awesome job. When the wheels are coming off the bus, and anybody who can't see that is blind. Ray Charles could tell you the wheels are coming off the bus. And it's time for people to call it out. Time for people to do something. And again, if you don't do something, it ain't going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Well, it's continually gotten worse. There's no question about that.
Well, Bob, it's going to keep getting worse. And generally, Bob, I will tell you, most time in prison stuff, you'll see things. If they can't get it shut down, you'll see things kind of go in threes or so. You'll see them happen over somewhere else. And I hope, again, Bob, we're trying to prevent a riot by getting out here. We're getting out and telling it. We've been calling it out. Bob, it's getting worse. We start saying, you're going to see the dope escalate. What have you seen? Overdoses escalate, dope escalate. We said you're going to see more violence. you're seeing more violence, more rape. You're hearing it all the time. Extortions, you're hearing it. Guess what? You're going to see assaults on staff. You're going to see more. Guess what, Bob? We've talked about that, and then a few weeks ago, I started saying, hey, you can't not have, we are fixing to have a riot because it's the escalation cycle has come full circle to where now that's where you are. And that's where we are right now. This little, Bob, have you ever watched stuff on volcanoes? And what'll happen is you'll have some small eruptions and some small eruptions, and they'll keep going. They'll get a little more powerful, a little more powerful, a little more powerful, till you get that one that just blows the snot out of everything. You know what I'm saying? Bob, we're at that cycle. She's getting pretty. She's getting
Well, it
pretty
happened
big.
at Lawton. When you got 30 guys fighting in the yard, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal, but it's not as big a deal as when they take over the whole prison and they start sticking people's heads on, stabbing screwdrivers through their heads and sticking them to the wall and taking torches and torching their head, cutting torches.
Well, that's going to happen, though. That's going to happen when they find out who's bringing in the fentanyl. When they stop
Bob,
the fentanyl from coming into the prison, that's when it's going to happen. But when we have our very own person doing it,
well, Bob,
that's just shocking.
Well, what people need to do, and that's what I don't try to talk about that stuff like what I just said. I don't talk about that a whole lot. But what people need to do, they need to study that. They need to look at where inmates took over a prison and throw somebody's head over the wall. You know what I'm saying? That's the stuff you need to see. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to talk about it because who wants to think about that happening? But Bob, if you went back and studied these things, that's where we're at. If we don't do something, that's the potential of what we see. This is a mini riot. This involved about 30, but it didn't involve the whole prison. The whole prison wasn't taken over. You didn't have to call out the National Guard. Although, guess what? We probably, if you want to know, and that's what I said the other day, I said 2 years ago you should have called out the National Guard. It would 10 times easier to got on top of it then, and then turned around and got some people hired, put some people in, researched it. They need to reevaluate. They need to look at their evaluation process on inmates. Things have changed under 780. You've had the same evaluation process. You need to look at, different people are coming in. May need to change that up.
At one of our prisons, I had 3 or 4 officers told me that they knew how the fentanyl was getting in there, how that's getting in there at the prison. They went to the warden and asked if they can we watch this area? Can we put out there and watch this area? He said, no, we're not going to do that. So he didn't want to know where the drugs was coming in at. But yet the officers knew where it's coming in at.
Here's the deal, Bob. If you got the inmates, if you got the patients running the insane asylum, and you don't provide them, so you start cutting certain things off and you start doing certain things, guess what? They're going to rear up. And that's they've got a problem. They've got a problem because if they come in and try to cut down on it too much, guess what? They're out of control. If you think at 4 or 5 of these prisons that they're in control, that's laughable. The inmates are in control. They went down there and met with them and had meetings with them. They're in control. When they walk in and they're wearing gold chains to come in to visiting with $500 shoes and gold chains and pimping out and walking in there like they own the place, guess what? That's because they own the place. They do own. When they call 911, when the inmates call 911, when I got dads calling me talking about that their son got cut and they're back here sewing himself up and making their own antibiotics, which he was like, what in the world they got to make antibiotics? And they don't know nothing. And guess what? He's laughing about how stupid that is, but he's saying look, they don't want to come forward and say that they've been stabbed. They don't want to go to the infirmary because then they got to report who stabbed them. And then they're in worse trouble and worse shape because they're going to stick them right back in there and they're going to end up dead. Now, that's what's going on. And I get that report daily. I get that report all the time. When I'm talking to parents calling me all the time, well, can I go to the administration? Oh, no, no, no. No, that'll get them killed for sure. Don't do it. Okay. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know. Well, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And that's Bob, I have that conversation multiple times. I went to church today. I'm on here right now. So you take several hours out of my day today, Sunday, Mother's Day. I bet I've answered 3 or 4 calls, text, and emails on parents on just what I'm talking about. And again, Bob, it's out of control.
Well, there's just no question, are you better off today than you were a year ago? And you're not, and you haven't seen any improvement at all. If not, it's gotten worse.
Well, but Bob, here's the thing. That's what I keep going back to. Their communications person is sitting here every time, downplaying every situation, praising Harp. When it's time, we got to start. And Bob, you know what has to happen? It can't be J.J. Humphrey and Bobby Cleveland. It just can't be anymore. It is time for the governor. It is time for the legislators. It is time for them to step up. We've asked for subpoenas. Bob, I do want to say this. I'd asked for a subpoena to get records because that communication director come out, communication person, agent, whatever they call her, came out and said that they had 1 to 15 officers. 1 to 15. Now, that's a slap in the face to their employees. That's when they say stuff like that. Guess what? Their employees are just it's an insult, that they would say that. And why would they lie about that? Why wouldn't they tell the truth to try to get some more help? But Bob, I asked. I had an ex-warden come over, talk to, and because you went with them, talk to the Speaker of the House to say, hey, Bob and Humphrey ain't crazy. This is actually going on. I had him come down and say, you tell me what I need to subpoena records. And I had him write it all out. And then I put my name on it, sent it up to, and I actually sent a letter over to DOC and said, would you please give me these records? Never heard a thing. Not one. They didn't even have the courtesy to say, go get screwed, Humphrey. They didn't even write me back on that. So I wrote the Speaker and said, look, I've already asked here. I've got the proof. And I'm asking you to give me subpoenas to get these records to verify that they don't have 1 to 15, that it's more 1 over 100 or 170, whatever it is. Guess what? No subpoenas, but all of a sudden I get an email say, we're not going to let you have these because you leaked all those incident reports. Bob, I didn't leak them. I never got them from them. They were already, you know what I'm saying? I don't answer to them. I didn't get them from them. I don't have to answer to them. So
well, I think the part that's really laughable is that they say it's you be looking at confidential information if we give all this to you, but we'll let you look at the confidential information if you come over here, but we're not going to send it out because it changes from there being at the headquarters. They're going to the Capitol. It changes that confidential.
Yeah, there's some time more. It's not confidential in their office, but it is confidential in mine, Absolutely, Bob. It's insane. But here's the deal. They wouldn't give it to me. So I went about getting another way. I've now got it. And again, it does confirm everything that I've said. And so I've got those records. We're going to do that. Bob, you know this. We have a whistleblower that's came forward that watched an inmate on suicide watch get the crap beat out of him. Throwed him up on a bed after they beat him on the floor, throwed him on bed, beat him some more, cut his bloody clothes off. And again, that person resigned after that, said enough, and again, they confirmed some other stuff. I've got more witnesses coming that are confirming stuff. So people are coming out. I want to tell any employees or any wives or people that work around If you know that kind of stuff, you need to come forward. We will try to protect you. If you want to get a hold of us, we'll try to verify it other ways. But guys, we've got to stop this. But Bob, it's past the point. I think we've done our job improving. I think we've more than adequately proved everything that we've said has been 100% true. I think Thompson has been caught in lie after lie after lie. Saying 1 to 15, it ain't 1 to 15. That's a lie. She said that we had to manipulate numbers to get funding. Then what she's saying, manipulate numbers, is lying. She's saying we've got drugs down. Drugs aren't down. She's saying that we've got violence down. Violence is not down. Violence is as much as I've ever seen it, ever. Bob, you've been involved with Department of Corrections for how many years?
12 or 13.
Have you ever seen it anywhere where it's at right now?
No, I have not.
And Bob, I would say that we were getting better reports back 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, that we were getting more information. I'd say we barely get enough to scratch the surface. You know what I'm saying? We are having to go out. We're not getting our information from the department. You talk about a worthless, Harp doesn't answer. He's so arrogant. He is so full of himself. He answers to nobody. I'm aggravated that Charles McCall, Speaker McCall, won't give me subpoenas. But if Speaker McCall asks me to do something, you know what I'm going to do, Bob?
You're going to do it.
That's my ability. Now, if he comes in and asks me for a vote and I can't vote for it, but I'll go in there and walk face to face with him and say, I can't do this, and here's why. But if he asked me to do something, if he said, I want you to do this work or do this work, I've had him call me in there and say, I want you to do a report of this whole Capitol building and how to make it more secure. Guess what? Yes, sir, boss. No problem. If he walked in today and said, JJ, I want you to do an interim study. Yes, sir, boss. No problem.
Well, JJ, we're going to shut her down. We went through an hour very quickly.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, Bob. I mean, and here's what's funny, Bob. We're talking about 1 week. We're talking about really about 6 days in the Department of Corrections on this 1 hour, 6 days. And again, that's escalating faster and faster. So again, Bob, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do on the Department of Corrections. I do want to say that, Wayne, we want you to come on. We'd like to talk to you. We're going to have a frank discussion on the survey and on what went on. But we also want to talk about how do you want to bring back and unite the party. Let's have a conversation how we're going to unite the party. And let's have a conversation on how do we get the party involved, that we actually are influential in who gets elected and what's happening in politics. Not just talk about politics, but let's get involved and get off the bench and get involved. So that's going to be here coming soon. Bob, you got anything you want to close out with?
I want to close out to Happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there.
Absolutely. Hey, Governor, any legislators, I want to say it's way past time. We have got to do something to prevent the loss of life. We got to do something to stop the extortions, the rapes, and all the things that are going on. It is time to say that Stephen Harp has been a disaster. It is time that we send him down the road and that we get somebody and talk about a plan, how to stop the bleeding and how to fix it. We've got to be able, and that may be bring in the National Guard to set this thing, stop it, and then make a plan. How do we fix it? We need to bring in people like Lemons. We need to bring in people, like Luke Pettigrew and those people and have a real conversation.